Some people silently repeat a single phrase in their minds. If only I had. They are not emotional individuals, nor do they easily mention regret. In the eyes of others, they are rational, calm, and measured adults. They handle matters appropriately, judge accurately, and occasionally even offer advice to friends on how to make choices, avoid impulsiveness, and prevent regret. Yet only they themselves know that the surface of thinking clearly actually conceals a series of internal debates deep within. Every night they return to a certain moment, attempting to reinterpret that past scene with their current perspective. They suddenly fall silent while showering, simply because they think again about that phone call and whether they should not have hung up. They sit by the window in an otherwise ordinary afternoon, staring blankly, with a thought flashing through their mind. If I had told the truth that day, would things be different now? They have not failed to move on. Rather, they have never truly let go. They live well, with stable careers, normal relationships, and everything seemingly fine. But a voice persists in their heart, unwilling to leave. It is not loud, yet it is stubbornly persistent. That is their obsession with what they missed, a mourning with warmth. It is not for others, but for the version of themselves that can never return. This is the secret of regret. It does not strike when you are collapsing, but appears when you seem most mature. When you think you have accepted reality, it quietly pulls you back to that original path and asks, are you really content? Thus you begin to doubt, to negate, to distrust your former self. You have clearly left that relationship, that job, that home. But a part of you seems still stuck there, never truly advancing. This is not emotional fragility, nor overthinking. It is the brain's instinct to grasp causality, even if that causality passed 10 years ago. We all assume time is linear, with the past gone and the future ahead. But for those who regret, time is a loop that brings you back to the starting point again and again, making you walk it once more and fail once more. You want to stop, but it does not allow it. Because you have not yet understood, why did I make that decision back then? This is the deepest illusion of regret. We think we can still control the past, believing that by rethinking it once more, we can achieve a different outcome. In reality, we simply have not learned how to speak kindly to the person who made the choice back then. Not with blame, not with reenactment, but with understanding. We all desire a chance to start over, but perhaps true comfort not in restarting, but in accepting that the best effort self from back then also deserves forgiveness. You still leave on time, brush your teeth, work, and return home. You still smile at gatherings and say, let the past be the past. You even help others analyze who was wrong, who should take responsibility, and that you have moved on. You speak calmly, without fluctuation, without choking up, without stuttering, as if this matter never left any mark on your heart. But you know you're acting. You appear clear to the outside world, but the moment you close your eyes, that scene returns. It might be a decision, a farewell, a sentence, a turn. It is not large, yet it always jumps out when you think finally it's okay. You browse your phone in the early hours, and before you know it, you click into that year's photo album. You clearly deleted many photos, yet you secretly saved a compressed folder somewhere on your hard drive. You say it is just a backup, but you know you are not ready to lose it completely. You say it happened a long time ago, but you always pause when saying it. You occasionally dream of another version of yourself, one who did not say that sentence, did not make that decision, did not leave that place. In the dream, there is no drama or crying, only a calm life, as if it were what you could have had. When you wake, you do not cry loudly or feel sad. You just carry an indescribable emptiness. You no longer blame anyone, and you rarely talk about it. You simply count the days secretly at certain points. If I had not rejected him that day, it would be exactly 3 years now. If I had agreed to change jobs back then, it would be time for a promotion now. You are not missing that person or that job, but the you who still had time, the you who had not yet said that sentence, had not yet chosen that path. You envy him for having infinite possibilities, even though he was confused too. And the current you is clear, yet has no more opportunities. So you smile, lower your head, continue walking, continue replying to messages, continue making yourself look fine. You do not want to be asked about it, nor pitied. You no longer cry, but you have never truly let go. This is the appearance of regret. It makes no noise, only gently pressing a button in your heart during every moment you think is normal, reminding you, you once made a decision you can never reverse. People keep regretting, not because they lack rationality, but because the brain itself creates illusions. Our brains have an almost instinctive fascination with the phrase, if only. In psychology, this is called counterfactual thinking. That is, we involuntarily construct another version of reality, one that is better, smoother, and happier than the present. This thinking is not wrong. It is a deep stress response. When reality feels out of control, we return to the past to find that point, the one where a different choice could change everything. This is a self-protection mechanism. It makes you feel that things turned out this way for a reason. If you find that reason, you will not make the same mistake again. If you understand the root of that choice, you can regain control of your life. You begin to believe the past can be repaired. You start searching for paths in memories and exits in regret. This is the so-called illusion of control. You know time cannot reverse, yet you still rehearse every detail from back then in your mind over and over. You want to find that turning point, that moment you did not see clearly, did not understand, did not act on. You want to tell your past self, don't do this. Listen to me once. But you cannot say it, because you are no longer that person. You have the current awareness, wisdom, and calm, while your past self only had the context, resources, and limitations of that time. But you forget this. You judge the past decision with present standards. You are harsh on yourself and others too. You say, how could I be so stupid? I should have seen it earlier. I could have avoided it. You think this is clarity, but it is torment. You are not reviewing the past. You are punishing yourself. The smarter you are, the more prone to regret, because you see countless better possibilities. But regret is never meant to make you better. It keeps you stuck in place, afraid to move forward. You tell yourself to be cautious, mature, and avoid mistakes. Yet you also stop trusting your judgment easily. You become unsure which step is right, so you repeatedly confirm, delay decisions, and over-prepare. You think you are becoming steadier, but you are quietly closing the door to the future, because you fear regret too much. You fear experiencing that too late feeling again, so you prefer not to start anything. But you forget that every decision in life is built on uncertainty. We can only use the limited information at hand to make what seems a reasonable choice. All regret occurs after you already know the outcome. It does not come from ignorance, but from growth. It is because you have changed that you feel your past self was inadequate. Yet it is precisely because of those seemingly failed decisions that you became who you are now. So you are not cowardly or foolish. You were simply protecting yourself back then in the only way you knew, and that was never a flaw. Perhaps you no longer remember when you started becoming cautious. It might have been a small thing, an interrupted decision, an expression not believed. Your first moment of regret may not have been about the outcome, but about not persisting for yourself. You said something that was not heard, so you learnt to be silent. You made a choice that was mocked, so you learned hesitation. You trusted someone and were betrayed, so you began doubting your judgment. It was not a dramatic instant, no loud arguments, no storms. It was more like a door slowly closing, in a time you barely noticed, making you lose trust in yourself. You started adding after every decision, "It probably won't be too bad." You began asking before every expression, "Will I be laughed at if I say this?" You started thinking when opportunities arose, "What if I make a mistake?" You call these rationality, prudence, maturity. But in truth, you just do not want to stand again in that "how could I have done that" position. That guilt, shame, heartache, loneliness. Once is enough. You dare not endure it a second time. So you hide regret in behaviors that seem normal. In the smile when you say it's okay. In the procrastination of "let me think more." In the details you repeatedly check and revise. You have not forgotten. You remember too deeply. You no longer utter the word regret because you have turned it into a lifestyle. From that moment, you constantly calculate, weigh, preset and defend. Not because you love analysis, but because you are afraid. Afraid that the situation you once opened and later regretted immensely will happen again. Thus, you are never truly relaxed. You walk steadily, but no longer quickly. You speak accurately, but no longer truthfully. You live knowingly, but no longer freely. Because you always remember that day. The day you did not fight for yourself, the day you compromised, the day you missed a possibility. No one blamed you that day, but you have never forgiven yourself. Over time, you stop treating regret as an emotion and start using it as a guiding principle. You set many invisible rules for yourself. You build a complex defense system in your mind, where every decision must pass layers of review. You call this growth, maturity, self-protection. But in fact, it is self-punishment. You no longer allow yourself to be rash, impulsive or emotional. But you also no longer allow yourself to live authentically. You become cautious, but also rigid. You gain boundaries but lose passion. You say "I must ensure no more mistakes," but the voice behind it is "I cannot bear another loss of control." Thus, you become harsher on yourself, less trusting of the future, suspicious of every seemingly smooth situation. You do not fear failure. You fear regret. You fear that could have avoided, but didn't remorse swallowing you again. So you preempt failure, lower expectations, exit situations early. You say "I don't want to get too involved," but you fear blame if you invest too much. You say "I don't care much about the outcome," but you just avoid the cost of choice. The more you fear regret, the more you lose the present. Because you live in retrograde thinking, every matter must ensure it won't become a future pain point. You are not pursuing happiness. You are avoiding regret. You enter a relationship not because you like it, but because this seems safer. You choose a job not for love, but because this won't go too wrong. When making life choices, you no longer ask, "What kind of person do I want to be?" but "Will this lead to more regrets later?" Regret becomes your navigation, yet it detours you from truly important paths. You make no mistakes, but you also do not truly live. You make countless correct decisions, yet feel exhausted, empty, and unable to be happy. You begin questioning if something is wrong. You think the direction of life is off, but actually, you stopped believing you deserve trust long ago. You have been atoning for what you see as a mistake in the past. You dare not grant yourself freedom again because you feel you once wasted it. This constant negation of self-judgment, this attempt to dissolve uncertainty with control, is regret's deepest and heaviest cost. It is not a momentary emotion, but a persistent distrust that the future will be wrong too. Perhaps you never considered that those moments you thought were judgment errors were actually your sincere best choice. With limited resources at the time, you were not lacking intelligence or awareness. You simply gained your current perspective too late, while the you in that moment could only live in the way available then. You did not let anyone down. You were not too naive, too impulsive, or too slow. You simply believed what should be believed then, relied on what was the only reliable option. It was just that the effort back then was the only version you could manage. You do not need statements like "I will never again" to constrain yourself. You are not a dangerous person, nor an unforgivable self. You do not need to magnify every error into "I don't deserve happiness." No, you deserve happiness not because you did everything right, but because you inherently do. Your past silence was not cowardice, but protection. Your past belief was not stupidity, but conviction. Your past choice was not failure, but attempt. No one can predict the future, and you do not need to be the always correct person. You can make mistakes, cry, regret, but you can also choose again, believe again, move forward again. Regret is not your enemy. It is the small you in your heart still waiting for a word of comfort. Not explanation, not justification, just a gentle, "I know you did your best back then." You do not need forgiveness, because you were never to blame. You simply went through a process every human experiences, growing from the unknown, learning gentleness from pain, rediscovering yourself through regret. This is not weakness, it is part of the journey. You can finally say to yourself, you were good enough, even back then. True healing is not erasing the past, but no longer avoiding its existence. You do not need to say, "I am completely fine." You just need, on some night, to no longer have your heart race because of that fragment. You do not need to force "I let go" long ago. You just need to slowly allow it to become part of your life, not your entirety. You can carry memories forward, like living with an old scar. It is still there, but it no longer hurts. You begin to understand that the consequences of some choices are not punishment but growth. Some pains exist not to make you hate yourself forever, but to remind you, you walked that path, you learned. You start allowing the unknown and accepting its inherent uncontrollability. You finally realize that happiness is not reserved for those who get everything right. It is for those willing to face themselves and reconcile with themselves who are truly free. You begin accepting the self you once avoided mentioning, defending him, praying for him, leaving a place for him, not deleting him, but embracing him. You finally stop trapping yourself in that "I should have" sentence. You begin to say, "I made the best decision, even if it brought regret." What you finally let go of is not the past, but the negation of your past self. What you finally let go of is viewing life as an exam, as if mistakes mean punishment, as if every step must prove no regret. You finally learn to stand in the present and say to the future, "I will make mistakes, but I will also proceed." You begin choosing to slow down, pursuing not perfection, but honesty. You regain courage, not because you're stronger, but because you are willing to believe, even after pain once, it is still worth loving, believing, living again. You do not need a redo. You need the now. You do not need proof. You need allowance. You do not need to escape the past. You need to gently breathe with it. You can finally say quietly, healing is not becoming someone else, but remembering the self not yet shrouded by fear,